Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are taking the absolute ultimate journey up the mountain of football legends. And look, this isn't just some random list we threw together. It's actually based on a massive, comprehensive poll of expert journalists. We're going to dive deep into the incredible stories and the defining traits of the 20 greatest players to ever touch a football. All right, so let's dive right into this. To cover all 20 of these legends efficiently, we've grouped them into 4 escalating tiers. First up, icons, defenders, and goalkeepers, covering ranks 20 to 16. Second, we have trailblazers and tragic strikers for ranks 15 to 11. Third, the midfield maestros, ranks 10 to 6. And finally, we'll hit the football immortals, ranks 5 to 1. So, part 1, icons, defenders, and goalkeepers, ranks 20 to 16, the foundation of football greatness. And hey, keep in mind, even down here at the very bottom of our top 20, we are still dealing with absolute titans of the sport. Starting off our countdown at number 20 is Bobby Charlton. He was this incredibly graceful survivor who went through the immeasurable tragedy of the Munich air crash, yet somehow found the strength to become both a Ballon d'Or and World Cup winner. Then we've got the Italian defensive masters at 19 and 17. Franco Baresi brought this sort of combative elegance with an unmatched ability to read the game. And Paolo Maldini? Well, he had such incredible defensive charisma that his pure presence alone would just stop attackers in their tracks. But sitting right between those two defenders at number 18 is a goalkeeper. Now, what's really fascinating about our number 18, Lev Yashin, is how he completely invented the modern concept of goalkeeping. The whole sweeper-keeper role, pushing out and anticipating plays well outside the box, that all started with him. Basically, if you want to understand modern goalkeepers, you have to start with Yashin. Rounding out this first tier is number 16, Marco van Basten. His career is honestly a really tragic contrast. On one hand, you have this stratospheric peak as a modern, agile striker who completely redefined the center-forward role with just unbelievable technique. But tragically, he was forced into early retirement at just 28 because of brutal, repeated tackles. His retirement was such a devastating blow to the sport that the entire football world literally changed the rules. They outlawed tackles from behind entirely, just so future forwards wouldn't have to suffer that same exact fate. Moving right along, let's see how this builds in Part 2, Trailblazers and Tragic Strikers, ranks 15 to 11, the artists and the goal machines. These are the guys who completely captivated the globe. Next up, we've got 3 players who brought pure, unadulterated magic to the pitch. At 15, George Best, the game's first true pop star artist, with those absolutely mesmerizing swivel hips. At 14, Garrincha. His dribbling was so joyous and uniquely brilliant that entire stadiums would literally burst into laughter in pure delight at his skill. And at 11, Eusebio, an unmatched explosive powerhouse. He acted as a crucial ambassador for the game, carrying himself with immense grace and humanity during a really difficult political era in Portugal. Which brings us to the number 40. Now, this number represents the legendary Bundesliga single-season goal record that was held for decades by our number 13, Gerd Müller. Müller was incredible. He had this sixth sense. He wasn't necessarily the flashiest player on the pitch, but his relentless anticipation in the 6-yard box meant he always knew exactly where the ball was going to land before anyone else even moved. Sitting just ahead at number 12 is the Brazilian Ronaldo, R9. And man, again, we see a really heartbreaking contrast here. Back in his 1996-1997 season at Barcelona, he offered an unmatched, visceral thrill, just a mind-blowing combination of skill, pace, and strength. But then came the devastating knee injuries. His knees practically exploded under his own sheer physical power. This tragedy actually altered modern sports science, forcing clubs to entirely rethink how they train highly muscular, fast strikers. And yet, astonishingly, Ronaldo still managed to come back and essentially win the 2002 World Cup. All right, as we crack the top 10, the energy really shifts. Part 3, the midfield maestros, ranks 10 to 6, the conductors of the beautiful game. We're now entering the realm of the players who controlled the very rhythm and geometry of the sport. Kicking off the top 10, we have Michel Platini. He was famously known as the Ghost, this rare 9.5 who could magically just appear out of nowhere to finish plays, as deadly as any traditional striker. At number 9 is Ferenc Puskás,
arguably world football's very first global superstar, who scored a staggering 84 international goals for Hungary. And at number 8, Zinedine Zidane, a big man with ballet-like elegance who treated the ball like it was an extension of his own body. He was a pure artist, even if he did have a pretty famously self-destructive streak at times.
And this brilliantly illustrates our number 7, Franz Beckenbauer. He didn't just play a position, he invented a whole new way to transition from defense to attack. He perfected the libero role, meaning he brought the ball out from the back with such authority that he essentially functioned as an extra midfielder. That makes him the highest-ranked defender on our entire list. Coming in at number 6, Alfredo Di Stefano is basically the ultimate best of the rest. Known as the Blonde Arrow, he was the original conductor of Real Madrid, leading them to 5 consecutive European Cups. Honestly, without Di Stefano's superstar appeal, the entire format of modern European club football might not even exist today. Okay, we have reached the hallowed ground. Part 4, the Football Immortals ranks 5-1, the absolute pinnacle of the sport. We are now looking at the 5 undisputed greatest players in the history of football. At number 5 is Cristiano Ronaldo. And look, this placement definitely sparks a fascinating debate among experts. Cristiano is the ultimate lab-built physical perfection. He's unmatched in pace, power, and heading ability, completely changing how we view goal-scoring metrics over his incredibly long career. However, he is ranked just behind 4 players that journalists describe as innate geniuses. The experts neutrally argue that while Ronaldo is the absolute greatest non-genius footballer to ever live, he sits just behind those with an almost supernatural innate connection to the ball. Number 4 is Johan Cruyff. Honestly, Cruyff was essentially a manager on the pitch. He embedded the philosophy of total football into the history of the sport, a system where any outfield player could seamlessly swap positions with anyone else. He's basically the very trunk of the modern football family tree, directly inspiring the tactical systems of modern juggernauts like Barcelona and Manchester City. Now for our 20th century kings. At number 3, Pelé. The man won 3 World Cups and literally looked like a 21st century athlete playing back in the 1950s and 60s. He possessed this ungodly physical power and skill that people had just simply never seen before. Then at number 2, Diego Maradona. Maradona was pure chaotic genius. While his peak was certainly shorter than some others, his performance in the 1986 World Cup is widely considered the most unplayable, fiery, and completely mesmerizing stretch of football in human history. Which leaves us with the number 1 spot. To set this up, I want you to consider these words from fellow football legend Thierry Henry. That's not normal. You're a freak. You're an alien. You know, when other absolute legends of the game can't even comprehend the skill you're demonstrating on the pitch, you are truly alone at the top. So the crucial point here is Lionel Messi is our number 1. He possesses that alien-like innate ability, sure, but he combined it with an unmatched 15-year stratospheric peak. Unlike some other legends whose primes were unfortunately cut short, Messi sustained this reality-bending, team-focused genius for a decade and a half. He completely reshaped what was considered possible on a football pitch, marrying pure magic with just terrifying consistency. But hey, remember, the true beauty of football is that it is entirely subjective. Every single fan has a different perspective and a completely different favorite memory. Having walked through the history, the peaks, and the pure genius of these 20 legends in this explainer, who is your ultimate number 1? Let us know, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.